I'm at Concordia Summit with Zeenat Rahman. She is Secretary Kerry's Special Advisor on Global Youth Issues and Director of the Office of Global Youth Issues at the U.S. Department of State. Zeenat, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about the mission of the Global Youth Issues Department.
Sure. So the Office of Global Youth Issues and my position is something that's new to the State Department. And this is really born of a recognition that who we engage and how we engage them around the world is as important as anything else that we do. Mm-hmm. So what do I mean by that? Mm-hmm. Traditionally, our foreign policy has been about engaging other diplomats and heads of industry. And we realize in a world where right now we have the largest young generation that's ever existed. You have young people who are driving change in all different sectors, who are the next generation of leaders, but whose leadership abilities are on display right now, and we want to have a relationship with those people.
Right. And how I was reading about a network of youth leaders from councils locally across different regions. Can you sort of go into how you find, these local groups?
Yes, so we have 265, we have a presence in 265 countries. We have over 80,000 employees. And so within our embassies in different countries, we've set up youth councils. And youth councils are simply advisory boards that serve as a point of interaction and conversation for young movers and shakers and our embassy leadership. So in Uganda, you'll have our ambassador, bring young people into conversations about global health issues and other issues that are happening, maybe at the ministerial level. In Latvia, we had our youth council really focused on the brain drain in Latvia, where 30% of young Latvians are leaving the country because there's not opportunity. And so they work together to champion, to raise awareness on this and then talk to their leadership, their political leadership. Amazing. So it's a way for us to just have a two-way conversation with young people. One of the most important things we can do as policymakers is to listen.
Great. And so are these young people in these regions, are they entrepreneurs? Are they, students? I guess it's across the board.
That's a great question, yeah. It's the way we define the engagement we want to do is who is the next generation leader, innovator in political, civic, social, economic. So I think that when you have a table, the more diverse the opinions are around the table, the more effective your solutions are going to be. So we try to make that table as cross-cutting as possible with regards to who gets to participate in the youth councils.
Great. And so, public-private partnerships is obviously a big theme today at Concordia Summit. And being in the public sector, how have you engaged with examples of partnerships with the private sector that have been really critical to your development on some of the issues?
Right. I mean, I think one of the this conference is so great because the issue that it's focused on is really what I spend a lot of my time increasingly thinking about, which is how are we going to engage the human capital pool, the largest human capital pool that has ever existed, and that's young people, and how do we make sure that they're connected to the economic growth stories in their countries. And so we've had to look at this as a model of multi-sector collaboration or public-private partnerships. One example of that is a youth entrepreneurship initiative that we started called Startup Youth. And it's basically a partnership with the private sector to work on programs and initiatives that will help young people actualize their ideas. In 10 days or so, I'm going to Malaysia, and I'm taking a delegation with me of about 50 young entrepreneurs from all over the world who will go to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, which is co-hosted by the Malaysians and by us. And so they're getting to meet a global network. They're participating in real-time conversations about different components of the ecosystem, and hopefully they're building some great contacts and skills.
And then do you encourage corporations to then get involved in something like this?
Yeah, so Startup Youth is with corporations.
Right, okay.
So we do partnerships with blue chip companies and others, and really start the conversation with how does this work? What motivates you to do this as a private sector company, and what are the assets you're bringing? And then we look at that with us as well, and kind of join hands and move forward on that.
And I think my last question is just in talking about youth, the topic of investing in girls, especially in a lot of the underdeveloped parts of the world, is organizations are seeing more and more girls getting involved in starting, entrepreneurship and and being really the breadwinners, you know, in their families. Are you seeing any trends with women and girls, you know, through your youth programs or youth
So,
councils?
I mean, I think the issue of women and girls is really important, you know, and I think it's a great example of what you see when there's top-down interest and bottom-up, and that's kind of the convergence that you're seeing with women and girls. And I think, you know, we were talking about this a little bit before we started this, but platforms and celebration are really important, and they sound, you know, hokey sometimes, but the idea that young people need role models, young women need other women to look up to, so do young men. That's a role that I feel like, you know, public and private, but that's certainly a role that we can play, and we'll continue to champion these role models, you know, put a light on them so that they may inspire other young women.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.